Tiến Dũng xin kính chào quý vị khán giả đến với channel TD Media. Kính thưa quý vị, hôm nay là sáng thứ Sáu, ngày 18 tháng 10 2024 và hiện tại Tiến Dũng đang có mặt ở phía trước của OC Food Bank. OC Food Bank là nơi cung cấp thực phẩm cho người cao niên cũng như là những gia đình có hoàn cảnh khó khăn, đặc biệt là cần sự trợ giúp về thực phẩm thưa quý vị. Và ngày hôm nay tại nơi đây thì luật sư Derek Tran, người đang ra ứng cử chức vụ là dân biểu liên bang Hoa Kỳ cũng sẽ có mặt cũng như là đi tìm hiểu về hoạt động của UCV Dân. Và bây giờ Tiến Dũng xin mời quý vị cùng theo dõi.
Được phục vụ trong quân đội là niềm tự hào lớn đối với luật sư Derek Tran, sinh ra và lớn lên tại đây, nhưng ông luôn hãnh diện về nguồn gốc thiện nhân tị nạn cộng sản của gia đình ông. Tại Quốc hội, ông sẽ tranh đấu để tăng ngân sách cho Đề hạt 45, bảo đảm an ninh công cộng, phát triển nền kinh tế, quyết tâm bảo vệ an sinh xã hội và Medicare, gác bỏ quan điểm chính trị riêng để phục vụ và phát triển đất nước. Xin quý đồng hương bầu cho luật sư Derek Tran vào chức vụ dân biểu liên bang Đề hạt 45. Xin cảm ơn quý đồng hương.
So the idea for WIC was born. It grew and grew and grew and outpaced CSFP. And so the people that were still running CSFP programs at the time, because neither were federally fully funded. So WIC was serving pregnant women, CSFP was serving pregnant women. But the CSFP people saw that WIC was going to become the preferred model. So they asked the question, is there any other population in America, in addition to low-income pregnant women and families with infant children, that could benefit from nutritionally balanced food in their diets? And the question was, of course. So seniors were identified as an at-risk population. And so a pilot project was approved to begin serving seniors with CSFP. And then over the next 20 years or so, the program that originally only served pregnant women and children served fewer and fewer women and children, more and more seniors, fewer women and children, more and more seniors, to the point where it became just about 7 years ago a seniors-only program.
Wow.
So the only people that we serve now, all the people that we serve now with this program are low-income vulnerable seniors. So again, 25,000 people served each month with this one program. And then we'll start walking into what food banks were traditionally created to do 45 years ago when they started appearing on the American landscape. And that was that in the food system, you know, and co-dating was one of the best things to ever happen to food banks, right? Because that date on that, the back of that, you know, can of green beans that says expires on. Yeah. The secret is that neither you nor I are going to die if we eat those green beans the day after the date on that can. So they're not considered necessarily sellable in the retail market,
but still consumable.
Oh, they're completely healthy and wholesome to eat. So whether it is a new product introduced in the marketplace that didn't sell, you know, whether it was a seasonal item, we get all the Halloween stuff after Halloween, all the Christmas stuff after Christmas, all the Easter stuff after Easter. You know, there's food in the system that isn't considered sellable at the retail market, but it's still completely good and wholesome. So that's what is donated here, and our customers here are other nonprofit organizations. Okay. So in business terms, we have both a retail and wholesale business.
That's right.
On this side, retail in terms of business terms, because it's our staff that are putting those food boxes in the hands of all of us. On this donated food, we never see the person, the family who receives the food, because our customer is a nonprofit organization.
Yeah.
250 churches, soup kitchens, shelters, family centers, senior centers, community centers that are approved to come here and grab these little carts if they're a smaller nonprofit and go through and see what we have today that would be useful to the families that they serve. The larger nonprofits don't get little carts and go through. They call us up and say, yeah, I want 2 pounds of that, a pallet of this, 3 pounds of those.
Are there limits for the nonprofits, or they just take whatever they want,
so
as much as they want?
So we only limit if we have a highly desirable item in a very limited quantity.
I got you.
Yeah, we don't. If we have a lot of something, like we have a lot of spaghetti sauce at the moment, take all you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if we had 50 turkeys, and any one of these organizations could take 50 turkeys. And we have 5 organizations here. We might say, could you each limit yourself to 10 turkeys so that everybody gets some turkeys? So that's kind of based on the volume or quantity of that particular item. So we tend to put the non-perishable items on this side of the shopping area, and then the perishable items, you know, the fruits, the vegetables, you know, the bread or bakery items, you know, on this side. And there's a scale over at our door. There's actually 3 scales here. But however it was first established, food banks all measure their size by how many pounds of food they distribute. So if I go to a food bank conference, and I do, we all kind of puff up and go, okay, so how many pounds did you do last year? And that tells us all kind of how big we are, how many people we're serving.
And where does OC Food Bank stand in California?
Yeah, we're kind of middle of the road.
Okay.
There's
I'm
food
sure
banks
LA is
LA,
the
like
biggest,
one of the
right?
biggest in the nation.
Yeah.
You know, one of the 3 biggest in the nation. I was there last week. Yeah, they're going to do 120 million pounds of food this year. We distributed 28 million pounds of food last year, so we're right in the middle, you know, between the largest and the smallest in the state. Now, Orange County also has 2 food banks.
Okay.
So there's the Second Harvest Food Bank of Orange County in Irvine, wonderful organization. And the truth is if you were to combine our poundage and their poundage together, then from an Orange County perspective, it moves us up into probably that 75 percentile or so. So again, this is where we would put the perishable items, large refrigerator, freezer. Kids love going in there when we give tours.
What are the hours?
So we're more traditional, you know, 8 to 4 o'clock. 8 to 4. And then volunteers, of course, during that time.
That's every day?
That's Monday through Friday for this operation.
Okay.
For the senior food box distribution, that's Monday through Saturday. We do distributions on Saturday. Sunday generally closed. And the exception we tend to make is if it's a Jewish group that can't volunteer on Saturday because of the Sabbath, then we'll open up in a case like that. Otherwise, we try to give staff 1 day off a week. And then on Saturdays, always 2 volunteer sessions, 8:30 to 10:30, 11 to 1 o'clock. Almost always 100 volunteers per session, 200 volunteers every Saturday. Saturday is very popular for kind of obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people are working and it's slow. So, big refrigerator, freezer. Increasingly, food banks are getting more and more perishable items. You know, if I look back when I started here, almost everything was non-perishable. Yeah, it came in a can, a bottle, box, or a bag. But with the 5-a-day campaign that started about 20 years ago, you know, there was really pressure on food banks to try to find more fresh fruits and vegetables. There's an association for everything. There's a California Association of Food Banks. And because California produces 60% of America's fresh fruits and vegetables, you know, there was plenty of produce that just wasn't where it needed to be.
Yeah.
Right? It was less populated areas, and the big population centers no longer had access to that quantity of produce. But if you look now, produce, we've got produce all around us. Our California Association of Food Banks developed a really effective national model, a program that helps us access that produce. In the past, we just got whatever showed up.
Sure.
But now we can order how many pallets or truckloads we want of yams or pumpkins delivered to us. The challenge is it costs some money to get it here. Sometimes we have to pay a few pennies to harvest the produce. We have to pay our California Association of Food Banks 0.75 cents per pound to run the program, and then we have to pay to transport it from Fresno here. So it cost us about 14 cents a pound delivered to our door. That's great compared to a wholesale or retail price, but we distribute many millions of pounds of produce, so you take 14 cents times a million pounds, 2 million pounds, 3 million pounds, it becomes a fundraising challenge for us. The community could use much more produce than we have access to, but we have a finite amount of financial resources that we have available to acquire.
So you talked about fundraising and you talked about the block grants.
Yes,
The block grants come up with a very small percentage of your budget, right? And then the rest is fundraising.
That's a lot of grant writing,
Okay.
and fundraising we put in that kind of pot. You know, family foundations and governmental organizations. We get grants from the government, and then fundraising events, direct mail, planned giving. It's like a jigsaw puzzle, and trying to put all those pieces together to cover the cost of operating this. You know, the joke in our business is it costs a lot of money to give us stuff away free. It costs a lot of money to give us stuff away free. So we do need a lot of community support in the form of individuals, corporations, government, to own the building in which we operate. Property is so expensive in Orange County. It's going to be a huge and heavy lift, but we were starting that conversation. So
I assume it's better than the landlord who gets to raise rent.
That's the reason we were at LA Regional Food Bank last week. They just went through a capital campaign. They're in a new facility, and we wanted to learn from their experience. So,
that's why you were there.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So anything requiring refrigeration in here, you can see we have some milk. We have cheese that goes along with that senior food box program. We have some potatoes, anything that would require refrigeration within here. Not terribly unpleasant to be here for 2 or 3 minutes. That leads into the freezer that's 0 to minus 10. Very unpleasant. And then my glasses fog out of my face. You know, protein now, so you know, we're doing a much better job now
Kính quý vị đồng hương, tôi là Tâm Trương, hiện là Sergeant Cảnh sát Supervisor của khu vực Evergreen trong cơ sở cảnh sát San Jose và là ứng cử viên Hội đồng thành phố khu vực 8 vùng Evergreen và East San Jose. Vì là một nhân viên cảnh sát và sinh sống cùng gia đình trong đơn vị 8 lâu năm, nên tôi hiểu rất rõ là sự quan tâm lo lắng về vấn đề an ninh, nhất là trong vùng Evergreen, cũng như vấn đề homeless, công ăn việc làm, phát triển kinh tế địa phương. Tâm Trương luôn luôn trân trọng và hứa sẽ không phụ lòng tín nhiệm và sự tin tưởng của quý vị. Xin bầu cho Tâm Trương. Cảm ơn toàn thể quý vị.
Văn phòng Quốc tịch Mỹ. Văn phòng Quốc tịch Mỹ cam kết giúp người già, người bệnh không cần thi vẫn được quốc tịch, tù tội vẫn được quốc tịch Mỹ. Văn phòng Quốc tịch Mỹ nằm bên trong chợ Sài Gòn Supermarket, điện thoại 714-756-0946.
But that's once a year, one time, but on a consistent basis. Yeah, where's the chicken? Where's the eggs generally? Where's the milk? Where's the that it just doesn't get donated by and large. And to purchase that, this costs a lot more than the 14 cents a pound. So this is all donated stuff. Donate. But if you look, what do we get that's donated? We got cleanser. We have salad dressing. We have and this came from a great event called Construction. So there's some tuna. That's a one-time per year event, and then we hand it out, and it's gone. We just got a whole bunch of stuff from Disneyland Resort. We have a lot of corporate support, so they had a whole bunch of stuff, a bunch of Halloween costumes. So perfect timing. We usually get that stuff after Halloween. We got it before Halloween this year, so we'll be able to gift a lot of our families Halloween costumes for their children. And then a bunch of stuff that's appropriate for Christmas gifts. And there's such competition, so little of that we're holding on to some of that stuff for Christmas. Now, here's another thing important for you to know about. Then this is all donated food, for the food industry or from food drive. This is not donated from the private industry. This is the federal government at work again.
Okay.
So this program is called TFAC. So 1980, because of America's price support systems, to support dairy, there was a lot of surplus cheese and butter.
Yeah.
So if there's an overproduction of something and the wholesale price is driven down based on market demands below the price that the producer has invested in it, USDA has economists to figure out how many millions of pounds of cheese or butter they might need to pull off the free market to drive the remaining product up to a price where the producer can recoup their investment. So in 1980, the USDA had more surplus cheese and butter that they could continue to store. So the story was they were starting to dump it into the ocean. And somebody in Congress said, why are we throwing away wholesome food when we have hungry people in America? So they drove some trucks to downtown Los Angeles, opened up the back of semis and started throwing it out of the back. And then it looked like there was going to be a more regular supply. Then they said, well, there's more of this, so let's start giving it to seniors. And then the pipeline of this food continues, and they said, well, not all seniors are low income. So let's establish some income criteria, and let's give this food to people that are low income.
Seniors.
See, not just anybody low income.
Okay.
So it was called Temporary Emergency Food Assistance Program. And then 20 years later, somebody in Congress said, why are we still calling something that's been operating for 20 years temporary? But they didn't want to change the acronym, so it became the Emergency Food Assistance Program. So this is America's price support programs. This was not designed to feed hungry people. It was designed to support distressed agricultural markets, right?
Yes.
And the benefit of that is that when Uncle Sam owns all this food that Uncle Sam doesn't know what to do with, it goes to disaster relief, foreign aid, military. There's 16 places where it goes, and food banks are one of the places where this food goes. So the quantity and variety can change depending on what's going on in the free market. But also we did go through, and this was 20 years ago, we had now established this program, all sorts of rules and regulations about how we hand out the food and who can get it. Only 10% of our partners can access this because of the rules that come with the program. So a lot of great food here, but 90% of our organizations only have access to stuff up there. The salad dressing, the sauerkraut, different fruits and vegetables, but not the whole assortment of all the foods that we have available. This is restricted. That food is restricted to low-income seniors. So we're thankful for it, but at one point there was no food in this program. So food banks become a special interest group like any other group in the country. So we went to our congressional representatives and said, you've built this big program and now people are relying on this food and there's no food. So now each year there's a certain amount of money appropriated just to make sure there's some foundational food available in the program, and then everything else is called bonus commodities. So there's always something here, and the bonus commodities almost always greatly number that kind of base foundational food that we get in TFAP, but it makes sure that if there aren't agricultural markets that are distressed, at least there's 2 or 3 or 4 items here to hand out. But there's a lot at the moment in terms of historically, this is all TFAP food, and then over here is all TFAP food as well. And it's great staple stuff. I mean, if you look, it's green beans, and it's tomatoes, and we do get peanut butter, and we get rice. I mean, it's very basic staple food items that people benefit from. And for the longest time, USDA paid to put it in their own labels. It was black and white, and it said USDA, and you can't sell it or you'll get in trouble. And they discovered not only was it costing them more money to private label this stuff, but then people considered it substandard food because it didn't look appealing. So now they just acquire these foods straight from the manufacturers that sell into the retail marketplace, and it comes to us looking at that. That's a big program for us. Not everybody in California has that. It's not in every community in the nation. It's now in all 50 states. What was the year? 1990. 1990? We were only in 17 states. And I've been on that board for years, and there were 2 of us that were working on expanding the program. So we had as a goal by the 50th anniversary to be in all 50 states. So not only would I go to DC to meet with Ag Appropriations Subcommittee members, Agriculture members, Appropriations Committee members, but when we were working on expanding into states, we would divide states, and I would go meet with the Florida members and say, have you heard about this program? I'd go meet with the Hawaii or the Connecticut or Massachusetts or Vermont. We work with Bernie Sanders on getting CSFP into Vermont. So now it's in all 50 states, but the demand is always greater than the resources. So each year, we're picking a budget number and saying, please support $425 million for CSFP this year. And also at the moment, and it looks like we'll be able to do it administratively. Looks like we're blocked at the moment. So this is also government at work. We have food bank staff that are scattered. We're paying to rent off-site offices because we don't have enough office space here. Some of my staff are up in the front here. But the state of California, 3 or 4 years ago when there was a $100 billion surplus, excuse me, the California Association of Food Banks went forward and said, food banks all need help with infrastructure. We can get money sometimes for people that want us to buy turkeys, but nobody wants to pay for the person to buy the turkeys or the truck to go pick up the turkeys or the refrigerator to put the turkeys in or the gas bill or electric bill. So and actually this came out of 4 of the budget sponsors were Orange County members. The call that came to me, so I reached out to Assemblymember Tom Daly, Senator John Newman, and Senator David Min, were 3 of the 4 sponsors that got $182 million for California food banks. Our fair share was $4.6 million, only for infrastructure. We couldn't even buy food with it. So, but we had old trucks that we had to were forced to retire because they didn't meet California emission standards. So that enabled us to required to retire those trucks, acquire new trucks, to construct some additional offices, to buy some forklifts and pallet jacks, and retire some that were 30 years old. So we were on a buying spree for a couple of years there, and this is the last of that project, is adding a 2nd-story office on here. So we can save some money by not running that off-site office space, square foot basis, and anything in the ballpark of the size we would need falls into that area. And we've got a lot of community support, but we don't have that in history for raising that kind of money. So
now, did LAA get any federal help in their
and they got some loans. Lou Correa, who was on our board before he ever ran for public office, so we've known Lou for 30 years.
Is he still on the board?
He's not on the board. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, he does have a board seat. One of his staff person, Janet Brown, is on our board with. So he got us a little bit of money last year. Very thankful for it, but a long way from the total needed to help out. So now they used to call them earmarks. Now they're community projects. Rosa DeLaura brought those back. Have you met her yet?
I'm not.
She's a kick. I hope you have an opportunity to work with her. We got this for Halloween, and we got a whole bunch of Christmas decorations that used to adorn Disneyland hotels. So after Halloween's over, we'll go away and we'll start decorating up for Christmas. We have 18,000 different volunteers. They do the overwhelming majority of the labor necessary for us to provide the service we do. So we try to provide an encouraging, uplifting environment for them. So, we created all these signs, the words and the pictures. We designed these and had them made so everybody's got a phone, every phone has a camera. So people left keepsakes. So if you're an individual, we have something for individuals. If there's a couple, we have something for couples. If you're a family, we got something for families. Starbucks volunteers painted that for us. So if you're a group of 25 or 50 or 100 and want to pose and get a group photo in front of, we volunteered at the Orange County Food Bank. There you go. A sign above the door that says this is a place where people receive help. This is also a place where people provide help. Thank you for volunteering. So, we want them to have a good experience. If they have a good experience, they want to come back. They want to tell others. And we have one, only nonprofit in Orange County ever to have received this award for providing the best volunteer experience in a nonprofit.
Andy xin cảm ơn quý đồng hương đã cho Andy cơ hội phục vụ trên 30 năm qua. Andy luôn đặt quyền lợi quý khách lên hàng đầu với tất cả tấm lòng, dùng chất lượng cao và độ bền bỉ. Nay Andy tranh cử vào chức giám đốc sở vệ sinh môi trường, chuyển rác thải thành cây xanh bốn mát, trồng thêm phượng vị khắp bô sa, tạo phương tiện cho du khách gần xa đến thăm viếng, tạo nền kinh tế cho Westminster, cũng là đền đáp tứ trọng ân. Andy xin quý đồng hương hãy bầu cho Andy vào ngày 5 tháng 11 này với chức giám đốc sở vệ sinh môi trường. Andy xin chân thành cảm tạ quý vị.
Kính thưa quý đồng hương, chúng tôi là cựu nghị viên Phát Bùi, vừa mãn nhiệm kỳ 8 năm phục vụ cư dân. Này tiếp tục dấn thân tranh cử thị trưởng thành phố Garden Grove. Là thị trưởng, chúng tôi quyết tâm bảo vệ an ninh cho cư dân thành phố bằng cách mạnh tay giải quyết nạn vô gia cư, tăng cường thêm cảnh sát, truy bắt tội phạm, kể cả tội trộm cắp dưới 1.000 đô, cải thiện thời gian duyệt xét xây thêm nhà ADU xuống còn vài tuần. Xin đồng hương hãy dồn phiếu trước ngày 5 tháng 11 cho Phát Bùi, một người tận tâm, nhiều kinh nghiệm và luôn phục vụ cho cộng đồng.
This used to be over by Winnie the Pooh. So, and there's a scarecrow that sticks right in that little hole that pops up. So, we have a partnership in a farm 3 miles from here. Also be good for you to visit at some point. Okay. It's at the side of Westminster High School, one of 8 high schools.
Oh, I've been there.
Have you? Okay.
Yes, I've toured it already.
Yeah, it's called the Giving Farm.
Okay.
So, and one of 8 Future Farmers America programs in Orange County and agriculture programs in the high school. The largest farm property of any of those 8. And it had, the school simply lost the resources to farm that a number of years ago. 5 years ago, a farmer friend of ours stumbled across it, and we joined in partnership, Orange County Farm Bureau, ourselves, our farmer friend, in partnership with the school, and resurrected that farming operation. The students renamed it the Giving Farm. Before it was just a farm that wasn't farming. Now it's the Giving Farm because everything that they grow there, comes to the food bank is then provided by our customers. So there's kind of nothing more local than people 3 miles from here by high school students. So we know that. I thought it would be quite probably for you guys, but people always work better than music. So part of the reason why we're a popular site is when people come here, we always start with an introduction. We tell them some of what we just told you, but in a much condensed version. And then we make the work assignments, crank up the radio. People always work better than music than not, and the faster the music, the faster they work. And then there's always a reflection at the end. And everybody, all the staff here, everybody's routing is a little bit different. Everybody's reflection is a little bit different. But my reflection is when we gather people together, we'll say, thank you all for being here today. The 20 of you working side by side for the last 2 hours were able to help 920 boxes. But we want to remind you, this isn't about boxes. It's not about cans or bottles or bags. It's about people. Yeah. And you were able to help 920 other people here today. These are senior food boxes. They are somebody's parents. They are somebody's grandparents. They can't be here this morning to thank you. So on their behalf, thank you for being here.
That's great. Yeah. So when you say you service about 25,000 every month, how do you raise that number? Can you get that number up? Or
well,
that's just
I'll be calling you about that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's all based on the federal appropriation.
Okay. And is there a number that identifies what the need is? Is it truly 50,000?
Yeah.
Is it 35? Is there a study that has determined what the true need is?
There is census data, but census data doesn't measure 130% of the federal poverty guidelines. So that's a harder, precise number to get to. We know it's not enough now, and we were actually working to raise those income guidelines. They used to be 185% of the federal poverty guidelines, and they were reduced decades ago. So we've asked the question recently. People say, how you doing? And most of us say, fine, thank you, or okay. Yeah, my answer is helping people every day. So, it just doesn't get much better.
Great thing to say, yeah.
Doesn't get much better. And for me, because I get to work with low-income consumers. Don't get those calls. Salespeople. I get to work with all of our elected officials, city, county, state, federal. Financial donors, volunteers, food donors. For me, no 2 days. We'll let Roxanne know of some big events that we've got coming up. Our National Family Volunteer Day event is the Saturday before Thanksgiving. Okay. We'll have 12 assembly lines set up, a DJ, a caterer, 1,200 volunteers. So it's a packing party.
Yes.
The day before Thanksgiving, and we often have elected officials and media show up for that. And then our MLK Day event, the Monday of January. This will be our 26th year hosting a Dr. Martin Luther King Day of Service. That we usually have 600 volunteers, but same thing. On those two, we almost always have elected officials and media show up.
That's fantastic.
There's no bad time to come. It is a particularly good event. And
Large crowd.
large crowds. Yeah, the National Family Volunteer Day event is all corporate volunteers. So
Okay.
you'll see Southern California Gas and Edison and Disney and Canada Electric and a bunch of companies whose names you've been familiar with. And then the MLK Day event is a lot of people from faith communities, the fraternities, the sororities, 100 Black men in Orange County, Black Chamber of Commerce. But you got the best person on your team.
I do. Well, thank you so much.
No, appreciate you being here. Yeah, good luck with it. Look forward to having you back.
Thank you. Hi everyone. We're just at the OC food bank here, and it's amazing to see the amount of volunteers that come out to help put together packaging to feed our seniors. This institution right here serves 25,000 of our elderly population out there, and it's something that unfortunately that is needed in the community, but also fortunately to have such a great organization such as the OC Food Bank to provide meals for the aging population out there that needs it. So very happy to be here today to tour this facility and then find out ways that I can help this facility not only grow, but be able to sustain itself for decades to come. So thank you very much.
What do you think you're gonna help this after this tour? What is the idea of helping them?
Look, the first step is to get elected, so I can actually help. And if I don't, I'll be here as a volunteer. But the goal is to get elected so we can make sure that Mark has the institutional support from Congress to be able to have the funding that he needs and the support that he needs to grow this much needed resource for our community.
If you get elected, what can you think? What do you think you can do to help them?
So some of the things that Mark was sharing, that they need more funding. There are ways to make sure we incorporate better meal systems out there. Like for one example, protein is a much needed resource, food item for this place. So that's something from a federal level that you can work on. Mark also shared that they're looking into expanding on a capital project so that they can buy their own warehouse. This is something that's needed for this organization to continue to thrive and succeed and provide meals for our senior. And that's something that the federal government can provide grants in to make sure that they can have that capital project that they need.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you everyone.
Thưa quý vị vừa xem xong những hình ảnh luật sư Derek Tran, người đang ra ứng cử chức vụ dân biểu Liên bang Hoa Kỳ, đã đi tham quan cũng như là tìm hiểu hoạt động của OC Food Bank. Một lần nữa cảm ơn quý vị thật nhiều đã quan tâm theo dõi những phút vừa qua, và bây giờ Tiến Dũng xin kính chào. Tiến Dũng sẽ gặp lại quý vị trong những chương trình kỳ sau.
Được phục vụ trong quân đội là niềm tự hào lớn đối với luật sư Derek Tran, sinh ra và lớn lên tại đây, nhưng ông luôn hãnh diện về nguồn gốc thiện nhân tị nạn cộng sản của gia đình ông. Tại Quốc hội, ông sẽ tranh đấu để tăng ngân sách cho Đề hạt 45, bảo đảm an ninh công cộng, phát triển nền kinh tế, quyết tâm bảo vệ an sinh xã hội và Medicare, gác bỏ quan điểm chính trị riêng để phục vụ và phát triển đất nước. Xin quý đồng hương bầu cho luật sư Derek Tran vào chức vụ dân biểu liên bang Đề hạt 45. Xin cảm ơn quý đồng hương.